Even the most laid-back person has their breaking point. On today's case, Mr. James says that when it comes to his wife, he's reached his. He says he is tired of her hot temper, her ridiculous demands, and her flagrant infidelity. He says he's done everything he can to save this marriage and is giving it one more shot before he pulls the plug. Can Mrs. James find a way to get back into her husband's good graces? Let's hear their case.
Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Starr presiding. Your Honor, this is the case of James versus James.
Thank you very much. Mr. James, you say you have hit a breaking point in your marriage. You say your wife's lies has tarnished your trust, and you can't seem to find a resolution other than a divorce.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mrs. James, you've come to divorce court in hopes of saving your marriage. You say instead of pointing fingers, Mr. James should be focused on finding a resolution.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. James, you've been married for 10 years, and you do have a daughter together, but there seems to be a major problem in this marriage. Mr. James, why are we in court today, sir?
Well, Your Honor, I'm at my wit's end. I have these divorce papers here today.
Uh-oh, you brought them to court.
Yes, ma'am. I brought them right here for her to sign today. There's infidelity in this marriage. There has been mean, evil, heartless words, temper, and I can't do it no more, so I got these here for her to sign today. If there's any reason why you can help me and show me that I should still be in this marriage, please let me know so we don't have to do this today.
You heard what Mr. James had to say. What do you say, Mrs. James?
I love him. I don't want to leave him. I love him. But he has to work on some things himself.
So, Mr. James, Mrs. James says that it's not all on her, that you have added to the demise of this relationship. Why don't you take me back to how you all met and then what brought you to a point where you're in divorce court?
Well, when I first met this lady right here, we were at a library. I caught her, and she was actually walking with like maybe 25 to 30 children books, a lot of books in her hand, all the way up to the half face up to her nose. And I was being a gentleman and asked her, can I help her with her books? And got to know her, found out, hey, we from the same city. And from there on forward, we built a relationship, friendship, been there for each other, and I don't know how we got to this point right now.
So, Mrs. James, when the relationship started out, Mr. James was living in a homeless shelter.
Yes, ma'am.
And that didn't impact on Mrs. James and her becoming involved with you.
No, ma'am, not at all.
And then at some point, Mrs. James, fortunes changed, and Mr. James ended up being the one that had your back. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, two people found each other, and when it was necessary, they each had each other's back. Am I right, Mr. James?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and that's correct, Mrs. James, correct?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Mr. James, how did it go so wrong? You think that your wife is cheating?
Yes, Your Honor. She does music. She sings, she raps. She was working with people that she does music with.
Okay.
And we was at the house, and she said she had to go record some music.
How late was it?
11, 12 o'clock at night.
So y'all should have been getting ready for bed at that time.
Exactly, Your Honor. But it didn't happen that way. She got the call, then decided to leave and go do that. And hey, from 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
What time did she come home?
7 o'clock. We had a whole another 60 minutes to it.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. James, what were you doing till 7 o'clock?
I was recording my music, Your Honor. This is not anything unusual for a musician to do. We record from sundown all the way to sunup. I do this at home by myself.
You can also do it during the daytime, also when there's daylight hours, regular 9 to 5 business hours too.
When the song comes, it has to come out. It has to come out.
But wait a minute, from what I understand, Mr. James said that you received a phone call, and that's what made you respond to go out. Did the song come out, or are you telling me you just have to work at it until the producers get it?
It's a certain type of mood that you're in, and if I had access at that particular moment to do the song, then I'm running off and I'm doing what I do for
Your Honor, it took her
my
3 whole days to let me know that, hey, I was with someone else.
I only said that because to make him be quiet. He always does not answer my questions, so hey, I don't owe you an explanation either.
Wait a minute, excuse me. You suspected that she was cheating that night, Mr. James, or that something untoward had occurred because she was out late You questioned her about it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you questioned her about it, what did she say?
She didn't say nothing till a couple of days later and told me that she had cheated with him.
Mrs. James, you told your husband that you had cheated with someone?
Because that's what he accused me of.
Okay, there's nothing that anybody could do or say to make me say that I violated my marriage vows. Why would you confess to something that you did not do if you didn't do it?
He's done it to me before, just
I've never
playing
cheated
with my head.
that woman at all. I've never cheated with anybody at all in my whole entire marriage.
So you heard what Mr. James says. He's never cheated with anybody. Have
I
you
don't
ever
think I-
told her you cheated with somebody?
No, Your Honor.
So, Mrs. James, how did he, quote, do it to you?
He'll leave that openness of thought in me, and the questions don't get answered. I don't deserve his answers, so he doesn't deserve mine. He doesn't respect the truth. He don't deserve the truth.
But, Your Honor, I also got another piece of evidence I want to let you know also.
What else happened?
I was at work. I got a call from Miss James over here saying that, hey, she wants to go promote her music across the country. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I think she's going to promote her music in our city or the next surrounding cities. But no, she decided to go on a cross-country trip to this state, that state, the other states, but someone else in my vehicle that she took.
Who'd she go with?
It's
Someone she
our car.
does music with.
Mrs. James, you went on a multi-day cross-country trip with someone else?
What happened was, he knew I was going down the East Coast. Just so happened, I asked Mr. James, would you like to come with me? Please come with me. He said he didn't want to come with me. He doesn't want to come with me to follow
Because I
my
had
dreams
to
or
work
pursue my
to
dreams.
take care of my
he got
family.
left.
Ain't
And
no
guess
getting
what?
left, 'cause
I
if
need
I
a
leave and do
man.
that, then I can't take
I
my
need a
family
man
home.
Time, please.
with me. I am a woman, a solo female artist. So if I had a buddy who was ready to ride and Mr. James wasn't, I left.
Did you tell your husband where you were and what you were doing?
When I got there.
Yeah, she told me also that she had sex with him too.
So you had intimate relations with this so-called cross-country buddy?
Yes.
Exactly, Your Honor.
I had needs, and he wasn't performing before I left.
So you thought it was okay to break your wedding vows? So you had intimate relations with this so-called cross-country buddy?
Yes.
Exactly, Your Honor.
I had needs. It was about 20 days in. I have needs, and he wasn't performing before I left.
So you thought it was okay to break your wedding vows?
At the time, I thought we were going to be separated. I was leaving for good.
But you were taking his car.
That's our car,
Mr.
and
James?
he couldn't get it back either.
You see what I'm talking about, Your Honor?
Well, Mrs. James, you don't seem to care
I do
that you
care.
violated your wedding vows. It doesn't seem to bother you. You just went off with somebody for 10, 11, 12 days.
It's not how it seems.
Okay, but if he went off 10, 11, 12 days with another woman, how would you feel?
I would feel like he could have stayed out there where he was.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, if he had done that, turned that around on you and said, you stay exactly where you are. If you want to be a hoe, go be a hoe, but you're not going to be a hoe in my house. He could have legitimately said that. Straight up. I mean, I'm not going to mince words. Because you're not going to leave my house and go on a 10, 11-day binge with another man and think you're going to just roll back up at the crib and it's going to be all right. I don't know a man that would agree with that. I don't know a woman that would agree with that. I don't know if you have been in that same position and he made a call for you, say he is a comedian and he wants to go on the road to promote his comedy, go out 10, 11, 12 days, and he's going to bring with him a female because he needs companionship. You'd have told him to stay his behind right on out there and hope that lady gave him the companionship she needed to, because that's the only thing he gonna see if he come back in your house. Am I right or wrong?
Your Honor, at the time, we were going to be separated. I was leaving. He was leaving me in the bed. He was telling me no. And guess what? I have a dream. He don't want to go. You don't want to go. You're left.
Okay, so you left.
I left.
Now, why did you come back?
He begged me to.
Mr. James, were you aware that Mrs. James' intention was to leave you and to leave that marriage?
No, Your Honor. She said she was going to promote the music. Then, you know, she was with someone in the vehicle. I didn't like the situation. I told her to come back.
You did?
I did. I asked her to come back. I did.
Why would you ask her to come back?
Because she don't need to be out on the road with somebody else that's not me in the vehicle.
And
it's my car.
Did you know?
My wife.
It's just in your car.
It's my wife
It's
and
our
my
car.
car.
Everything is ours.
Why do you say it's your car?
The other person, he's not in my family.
So in other words, regardless of whose car it was, you know it wasn't this extra man's car.
Exactly.
I get your point. I understand that your intimacy issues have really reared their head, and you feel very strongly that if he's not going to be intimate with you, you're going to seek intimacy elsewhere. Is that correct?
He tried to end my sex life, Your Honor.
Mr. James, what's your answer to Mrs. James? If you'd like your case to be heard on divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com. Missed a show? Watch full episodes on our streaming platforms and follow us on social media for exclusive content.
Let me tell you also about my job. They gave me a surprise birthday party at my job. Everybody at my job brings a dish to the party. One of my coworkers brought some potato salad.
Okay.
It was made by hand.
Okay.
So my wife thinks to me
Especially for you.
it won't just for me, it's for everybody. But she thinks it's for me because they had made
It's
it
your
for me to have
birthday.
my birthday party. It might have been my birthday party, but there were other people there for everyone. At the end of the party, they said, take the leftovers home. Took the leftovers home.
That's what
ate
normal
some.
people do.
And I ate some, and she's like, oh, so she made that especially for you.
No.
Oh,
No.
she's loving you at work.
No.
Oh, you're doing something with her. You're having a relationship with her at work.
The
And it's
potato
not the case.
salad lady?
Over some potato salad. And it's not even that. I go to work, I work hard, go to work 8 o'clock in the morning, get off 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. Come home to my wife, come home to my children.
After you ate her potato salad.
But the potato salad was for everyone, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's potato salad at a potluck birthday party.
And how did it manifest itself after this whole situation?
This whole thing lasted for like a whole year. Been boiling
What?
over a whole year. So what I did, I got frustrated and got fed up. So I called my coworker like, hey, tell her what the hell happened. What's going on with this? Because it's not nothing I want. I'm fed up with it.
So this had been a conversation in your family for over a year.
Yes.
And then you went back to a coworker and say, please explain to this woman about this potluck
because
party.
she wanted to speak to the coworker.
Okay.
So I like, you know what? I can't do this no more. Go ahead and speak to her. And after that, after the conversation, she got real heated. She was up here, Your Honor. She was up there, and she was going off on the coworker, going
What?
off on me.
To question this man eating a coworker's potato salad when you got your tacky trifling behind in a car and went on the road.
I won't say I can know it's trifling, y'all.
Okay, no, that's trifling. It's trifling to be
It
married to
was.
somebody and go off and screw somebody else while you're on the road. That's trifling. In every community that I ever heard of, that is the definition of trifling. Now, if you have an open
Trifling is leaving
relationship...
your wife in the bed without no sex. That's trifling.
So-
That's trifling watching her cry. That's trifling.
I understand that your intimacy issues have really reared their head, and you feel very strongly that if he's not going to be intimate with you, you're going to seek intimacy elsewhere. Is that correct?
He tried to end my sex life, Your Honor.
Mr. James, what's your answer to Mrs. James?
I'm not trying to end that at all. I'm there for her. I work a lot of hours. Before I was working overnight, I would be tired in the daytime.
Your Honor,
Now I'm working during the daytime,
I got nothing to
and
do with that, Your
after a
Honor.
long day of work,
He wouldn't rub my butt, Your Honor.
Time, please.
And just for what she was saying about rubbing her butt, she was in a car accident, and with that, she's injured. I don't mind rubbing her butt. But at the same time, I'm not trying to be the one that's going to injure her even more for me doing it. It's not no prescription from a doctor say, hey, you need to rub this from 4 in the evening to 5:30 in the evening.
I'm your wife.
I understand you're my wife, but at the same time,
What
It
kind
hurts.
What
Who
kind
else
of
is supposed to
injury?
do it?
Mrs. James, I'm sorry, what kind of injury did you
I
sustain?
guess a PT physical therapist, right?
It's like a S1 injury in my spine.
And the rubbing relieves the pressure or something on the spine? Is that what it is?
all of it's aching, and I couldn't feel anything. Couldn't feel anything, Your Honor.
You can clearly see that there's a disconnect between the two of you. You are a 12 in terms of energy. Mr. James, is this all the time?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, $365 a year.
It's pretty clear to me that you all are not even on the same page. Mr. James, you came to court today because you wanted to know if this marriage can be salvaged. You wanted to hear my opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
Honestly, y'all are not even connected in any way. Whatever it is that Mrs. James needs, you're not fulfilling. And whatever it is you wanted for a wife, she's not it. If that's the life that you want for the rest of your life, then stay in the marriage. But if you want something more, sir, it's time to move on. You brought papers to court. Do
Yes,
you
Your
want
Honor.
them served? This is on you. But you need to listen to me when I say, this is what you got. You told me 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. But if you want something different, ask me to serve the papers and I will. That's all I need to know. I'm never gonna tell somebody to leave their person, because I don't know if you like the drama and the toxic nature of it.
I'm not giving him the divorce. He ain't getting one, because when I asked for one, he ain't give it to me.
Here you go, Your Honor.
You ain't.
May I have the
I'm not
papers,
giving him the
please?
divorce. He's not divorcing me. Sure ain't.
Mr. James,
Yes, Your Honor.
I have them in my hand, but never once did anybody mention the small elephant in the room that is a child that belongs to the two of you. Not one time. You haven't told me anything about this child and how this toxic marriage has impacted on the child.
Yeah, it's impacted the child, yes.
Who? I mean, I know you have
right.
children from a previous relationship, but you have a child together.
Yes.
And that's a small child.
Yes.
I've stayed home, Your Honor, and been housewife for the last 5 years, put everything on hold, music on hold, don't go nowhere. I've been home making that child brilliant. I made that child brilliant.
Mr. James, what's
Yes.
going to happen with your son?
I guess he'll be taken care of.
So you're going to put a co-parenting situation in place?
If need be, yes.
Well, if I serve these papers, I can't make Mrs. James sign them, but the moment I serve them, she has been served, and you can officially go into a court of law and start a proceeding, if that's what you want. Again, I say, do you want the papers
John,
served?
please don't. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go serve him, man.
I'm sorry.
I beg your pardon?
Let's not serve him. Can we talk?
Of course you can talk. All I want to know is what my job is. Shall I put these papers in Robert's hand to give back to you or to serve on your wife? That's my role.
If she's willing to change, if she's willing to make a real change.
I need somebody to tell me what to do, because quite frankly,
Please don't serve them.
if it was my decision, these papers would have been served a long time ago, but it's not. All I want to know is what to do. You know who Jimmy was when you first met Jimmy, and Jimmy has not changed. Do you want the papers served or do you want the papers back?
Serve the papers. Serve the papers.
Mrs. James, you've been served.
Under normal circumstances, I sit here and I give a closing lecture, but to be honest with you, y'all don't need to hear anything else from me. This relationship has been over. It's a toxic mess, and if you stay in it, you are the one that has made your own bed. Can you spell fiasco?
I'm speechless.
Mr. and Mrs. James, I have to tell you, I couldn't tell if it was a comedy show or a cruel joke. Either way, that little boy is in the middle of it.
That's the worst part, you know. They were going back and forth, and that was the same exact thing that was going in the back of my mind, is that this poor little kid has been dealing with this for how many years?
And a mother that jumps in a car and goes off and disappears because, quote, she's not getting her needs met.
That was foul.
Everything about this was foul. Excuse me, gotta clean this place.
Made in Georgia.